I'm going to play the beginning of this video and catch back up with you. I have to go drink some water and turn off my heater.
For many Trump supporters, this week was a time to say farewell to the president they voted for. As President Trump arrived in West Palm Beach on Wednesday, he was greeted with the cheers of his loyal supporters.
It's a send-off. You know, congratulations. It's a celebration. It's a welcome home.
But he stood up for us, and now we want to show him how much we love him and that we support him.
Among the crowd that day, Richard Snowden.
It was a bit sad. I think most Trump supporters will admit that a few tears were shed.
A parallel celebration as the rest of the country watched the 46th president of the United States be sworn in.
I, Joseph Robinette Biden Jr., do solemnly swear.
President Joe Biden calling for the country to come together.
Unity is the path forward, and we must meet this moment as the United States of America.
A desperate plea after a month that started with a failed insurrection at the U.S. Capitol, followed by the second impeachment of Donald Trump, charged with inciting that mob. On the heels of all of this, we spoke with 3 Trump supporters from 3 different states to pose the question, where do we go from here? And is unity possible at a time of deep divide?
Joe Biden is now the president of the United States of America. What do you think?
Well, I will never say anything bad about him. I will watch and take it all in. He is my president. He is our president. Good people have to wish only the best success for his administration because it affects all of us.
I first met retired Delaware businessman Richard Snowden at a Minneapolis rally in 2019. It would be one of 74 Trump rallies he would attend over the last 5 years. He spent more than $30,000 of his own money traveling to them.
5 years ago, a year ago when we met today, you were drinking the Donald Trump Kool-Aid, and it sounds like you're still drinking it.
Well, I think Donald Trump is a tremendous American patriot. I've never been a Kool-Aid drinker.
Last time we talked, I think you did say you were drinking the Kool-Aid.
I said what?
Brother, our conversation on videotape.
We wake up every day thanking the Lord that Donald Trump is our president.
Wow.
Yeah, we love him.
You drank the Kool-Aid gallon at a time, it sounds like.
Yeah, unsweetened too.
I'll allow you to correct me on that, Stan, but 2 years later, I'm not drinking Kool-Aid. I'm still a big supporter. I will support him in 2024 if he decides to run.
So it's fair to say you're no longer drinking the Trump Kool-Aid, but you're willing to have coffee with Joe Biden.
Yes, yes.
Richard says even though he accepts Biden as president, he still has some skepticism about the election.
Why? Yo, I just walked in on that sentence, but why? I got to hear his reasons on that. But why?
The election results said that Trump lost. The courts have said that Trump lost. Those who recount the votes said he lost. But a lot of folk like you just still don't believe he lost.
Well, I've accepted it, though. I don't believe it. There was funny business, no question about it, but we have to move on.
Yes, the government absolutely hid the existence of UFOs. And I'm not saying I've accepted that they've hidden it, but I really think we should talk about it. Fucking MAGA chudheads, man.
That's what I'm doing. I'm moving on. I'm on the Trump train, but I'm moving on.
A poll conducted after the election.
They don't even I keep repeating this point. They don't even like the GOP. It's just straight up Trump, 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 Trump.
In November showed more than 3/4 of Trump supporters believe the baseless allegations that Biden's win was due to voter fraud. Here in the suburbs of Raleigh, North Carolina, evangelical pastor Chad Harvey says he's trying to help his congregation come to terms with a new president, starting by confronting all the...
Who the fuck cares, yo? Honestly, not who cares. Why is the church so attached to Trump? You don't find that odd, bro? Your whole point is supposed to be about God, not Trump. Somehow those two are issues that you need to conflate in your church?
This information.
It sounds like in these last couple of weeks, besides christening babies, conducting funerals, baptizing people, you've had to be the misinformation police.
Yeah, and actually, it's kind of interesting. There has been a little bit of frustration, I guess, maybe directed at me because I have to be the bearer of bad news and say, hey, I don't think Trump is going to swoop in at the last minute. It doesn't do us good for the wider world to see evangelicals getting sucked into all kinds of conspiracy theories about how Trump is going to serve 4 more years. Hey, it's one good
guy. Harvey estimates that about 90% of his congregation at Cross Assembly Church voted for Trump. We were with him just days before the election, at the time putting his trust in the Republican candidate.
Like it or not, Donald Trump's policies are more in line with evangelical, Pentecostal, conservative theology than Joe Biden's.
Okay. I'm sure he's going to walk us through this statement. I don't know. I should stop pausing it and just let it play. I'm sure he's going to walk us through this statement. That is not a problem to me. I mean, I have a big issue on the idea of church separation of church and state. But if you're doing it policy-wise, go for it. Like, if that works for you, I understand your rationale for catering to evangelical white Christians. That's your business. Like, do what you got to do. Again, this is not, see, I can be fair and partial. I told you this. Some people believe I can't for some strange-ass reason. But I'm hoping he denounces the parts that are like destroying America. Like, I hope that that's where he ends up with that, because again, people can have all their personal reasons, but you do have to admit at some point, yo, that guy's looking like the Fourth Reich, and no matter how good his policies are, I can't vibe with that.
What was this Wednesday like for your congregation when your members saw Joe Biden put his hand on the family Bible and take the oath of office that he is in fact our president?
Yeah, for some folks it was bittersweet. I don't think it was the inauguration itself that concerned some evangelicals, particularly in my congregation. I think it may be some of the initial executive orders that we're seeing come down the line. It's causing some concern in the evangelical community.
Harvey also raises concerns over the recent appointment of Dr. Rachel Levine as Biden's
Here we go, trans rights.
Health, the first openly trans woman to be confirmed by the U.S. Senate.
To see an individual who really is the antithesis of the evangelical view of human sexuality, the evangelical view of the traditional family, now be elevated to the number 2 position in the health department. I do think there's some concern.
I asked this question, not only is it...
What's the concern? See, yo, liberal media does that shit, paints people who won't say the dark part out loud, like...
Journalist, but I asked this question as a person of faith who takes my faith very seriously, and also as a person of color. That part of what I hear in your language and in the views of many of your congregation was the same argument that evangelicals made about people who look like me 40 years ago, 70 years ago, that somehow black people, people of color, didn't belong. And so part of what I hear you saying now, at least for me, rings of that hypocrisy.
This is not a white concern. This is
don't do that. Nope. It becomes a white concern because white people had the most power to enact the ideas of slavery and or the redlining the policies that held black people down for all. You can say it's an inclusive policy of concern, but it's not, because at the end of the day, it becomes definitely a whites versus everybody else type of conversation.
And a conservative evangelical concern that really transcends racial lines.
There was a time in the history of evangelical church where the line was race.
And that line never moved. This is the definition of moving the fucking goalposts.
That yes. If you were white, you were here. If you were black, you were here. And now the evangelical line is about sexuality. That if you are perceived to be a heterosexual person, you are here as a relationship as a child of God. But if you are transgender, you are less a child of God. And so to me, again, it sounds like both speak of a spirit of not all of us are welcome.
Right. And so that's the beautiful thing about, by definition, evangelicals are scripture-centered. And so scripture never denigrates an individual based on color. Scripture never separates people out.
Does this man live in America? Is he not fucking aware that regardless of your definition, that the only reason why trans people, black people, women of color, almost women in general, like literally have had to fight for their rights because the evangelical agenda was literally to disclude all of those. Jim Crow was allowed for a long period of time. If God didn't have nothing to do with that, then we gotta have a conversation. Man, dodging heavy
as one race being superior than others. Scripture does, though, differentiate right and wrong.
It makes me think, with all of these issues that still divide.
By definition, evangelicals are Scripture-centered. And so Scripture never denigrates an individual based on color. Scripture never separates people out as one race being superior than others. Scripture does, though, differentiate right and wrong.
Right and wrong what? Morally? This is why I said, okay, so I know this is the middle of a reaction. I'm going to take 20 seconds out to say this, and I know I'm going to become like the most hated person on the internet. If humanity, and I mean this on a global scale, I mean our species, wants to survive and move to other planets, become, Star Wars, Star Trek, all that, you gotta cut off religion at the throat. I'm sorry. And I don't mean this to demean anybody who has a religious background, that has a religious standing, but like in the theory of utopia, religion does not fit in because you just said Scripture dictates what's right or wrong. Trans people are not wrong. Like, that's my whole, like, as science evolves, we'll eventually get augments. And I can't wait for that. I'm probably not going to be alive for it, but like augments. And that's why, oh my God. Okay, so we're going back to this conversation again. And I'm glad that there's some streamers in the chat because you go, I wanted to play a game that plays on this exact, and it was made, what, 2010, 11, 12? Plays on this exact argument. But the evangelicals didn't like people who got augments because that's against God's will. But the augments were saving people's life. It saved the main character's life. And I wanted to play that with you guys to really reverberate that point that this isn't old. This argument is as old as time itself. But for some reason, people don't get that. Like, I wish I had a bigger audience because I wish, like, people didn't pop in and just see me playing the game and not understand the purpose behind it. Like, there's a meaning to, like, why that game exists and what the points they were trying to make is. And it's that people like you got to cut religion off. I'm sorry. I don't know how to exist in a society where you're living, like, I'm going to be real with you. God did not see a Uzi coming. Yo, God did not see a Uzi coming, bro. Like, he didn't see the creation of the internet. He didn't see augments. He didn't see science. Nobody up until modern history saw that, like, we could take a heart out of somebody's body and put it in another, like, and replace it with another heart. He didn't see pacemakers. We didn't see us eradicating viruses through the use of science. Like, humanity, there's a video that I think we either watched. Yeah, it was the alt-right playbook. Humanity exists in spite of nature. Like, viruses are nature's way of culling off a species, like, honestly. And we are able to fight back on that just through science alone. So where's God in that picture? Oh, God made the virus. I guess that's his will. Oh, people survived coronavirus due to science. I guess that's God's will. If God's will is to do everything and anything he wants, then maybe we should stop listening to that guy. Like, he really, it's the joke, the Lil Dicky song. Hold up, brain, you just did it. God ain't wrong. What the fuck was he thinking? About what? The dinosaurs. He made the earth for them and not us. Wait, hold on. Sorry, I gotta look up the lyric. He made the earth for them, and then he like, nah. Dinosaurs are just blah. I should cook up some blondes. Like, he was way off. I don't look like a dinosaur. I'm like 5'11", but on Tinder I'm 6 foot. Like, evolution of humanity cannot be tied down to anything that doesn't apply to modern theory right now. Because as the world and the globe evolves, it's going to become more technical. Technology is an easier way to achieve the same goals. And I'm sorry, but like if we can have everything automated by robots and people don't have to do menial work anymore, put money in those people's hands so they could participate in society. Like, yo, bro, the economy not even real. Just fix that shit. Like,
How can Joe Biden or anybody else, any other politician, possibly bridge that divide?
Yeah, Byron, the answer is he can't. I don't think Donald Trump can do it. I don't think Joe Biden can do it.
In Washington, D.C., President Biden signing a slew of executive orders during his second day in office, focusing on economic recovery for families and small businesses hard hit by the pandemic.
These small businesses, they are hurting badly, and they account for nearly half of the entire U.S. workforce.
Hey, Emily.
Business owners Amy Thomas and her husband Lloyd among those struggling. They're the owners of Pecan Plaza, a strip mall an hour north of Austin, Texas. We first met them back in April as they were reopening after a 7-week lockdown.
The month of February, we had $20,000 in sales. The month of March, I had less than $1,000.
Amy says she received federal aid and small business loans during the pandemic, but it wasn't always easy getting her money.
It was rather difficult to find where you were supposed to go, which source you were to actually fill out the paperwork. But we did do that, and I was able to receive some money.
Among Biden's initiatives today, setting up benefit to...
Whose fault is that? The guy you voted in, Donald Trump, who didn't play the playbook given to him by Obama, and the new President Biden. Like, you self-destructive plot. Like, you voted literally against not only your self-interest, but your survival. Like, you literally put the guy in place who didn't give a shit.
Delivery team.
It was hard to find out where to go to get the money. It was hard to find out how to apply for these loans. Like, I'm sorry, honey, but bitch, it was hard for us to apply for unemployment. You should have seen that first week. You should have seen. I'm blessed. I am blessed to have gotten into that when I did. Thanks to my father and thanks to a whole bunch of other people. I am blessed to have had an understanding of that system. But even then, I shouldn't have an understanding of that system because I shouldn't need it. There should have been something in place to protect me, but there was not. That was what was left to protect me and 40 other million Americans all doing it at once. All right, so, but you're not complaining about them corporations that were stealing PPP loans and like taking mad money from it, right? Yeah, you're not worried about that, right?
Teams to help small businesses navigate complex federal and state programs. But Amy, who voted for Trump, says she's skeptical of it.
I think on paper it might really be good, but are we creating another bureaucracy with this?
Amy hopes small businesses will remain a priority for the new administration.
Let's move forward. Let's heal. Let's get businesses back open and let's support the small guy. I'm asking for a chance.
All across America, all sides want a chance at their version of a better America. All agree America's deep divide did not start with Donald Trump. And with his impeachment trial looming next week, Trump supporters say that divide will not end with President Joe Biden either.
That's the end of that segment. I didn't expect to get as mad as I did. That's crazy to me. You literally do not understand what it means to vote not in your, like, you literally, Americans, bro, Americans have the richest country in the world, richest country, can't figure out how they're being stolen from.